Keith Pickford tune. Sweet dog. So good. All right, back. So we got a lot of fun singing today. We have Laurie Diamond and Fred Abatelli in the house. Very excited about that. And Sherry Gaudette's going to bring us in with a really cool medley, and this is going to start with Yes, Lord, Yes, and Your Love Makes Me Sing. Join along, dance along. Here we go.
Trust you every day when that spirit speaks to me. In my whole heart I'll agree, and the answer will be yes, Lord, yes. I say yes, Lord, yes, to your will and to your way. I say yes, Lord, yes, and I trust you every day when that spirit speaks to me. In my whole heart I'll agree, and the answer will be yes, Lord, yes. I say yes, Lord, yes, to your will and to your way. I say yes, Lord, yes, and I trust you every day when that spirit speaks to me. With my whole heart I'll agree, and the answer will be yes, Lord, yes. I say yes, Lord, yes, to your will and to your way. I say yes, Lord, yes, and I trust you every day when that spirit speaks to me. With my whole heart I'll agree, and the answer will be yes, Lord, yes. I say yes, Lord, yes, to your will and to your way. I say yes, Lord, yes, and I trust you every day when that spirit speaks to me. With my whole heart I'll agree, and the answer will be yes, Lord, yes. To your way, I say yes, and I trust you every day when that spirit speaks to me. With my whole heart I'll agree, and the answer will be yes, Lord, yes. When that spirit speaks to me, with my whole heart I'll agree, and the answer will be yes, Lord, yes. feel it rising, all the joy that's growing deep inside of me. Every time I see you, all your goodness shines through. I can feel this God song rising up in me. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Your love makes me sing. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Your love makes me sing. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Your love makes me sing. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Your love makes me sing.
Beautifully done. Great job, Sarah. If you are comfortable remaining standing and joining the hand of the person next to you, this is our congregational song, Surely the Presence.
Let us pray. Surely the presence of the Lord is here because you are here. Indeed, God's love is amazing because it manifests itself in, through, and as you. So to feel the amazing love of the divine, we simply feel the amazing love that we center ourselves in, that we live, that we manifest, that we feel from each other. And today we come together to remember that, to solidify ourselves in that consciousness of love. That is God's love. That is our love. That is your love. So today, in this moment in service, after service, tomorrow, every day this week, simply remember that. God's love is real as you. God's love is real as you. And so it is, and so let it be. Amen and amen. Thank you. You may be seated. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Unity on the River. If we hadn't have a chance to meet yet, I am Reverend Ogunholder, senior minister here. I want to welcome you to our service. Hey, y'all are here. I'm waving at you, Kaylin. Yeah, I haven't seen you for a while. Sorry, caught me off guard. Sorry, I got excited when I saw it. Keep it cool, Ogun, keep it cool. Welcome to our service. As I always like to say every Sunday morning, indeed, if you want to see the face of God, the divine love that is in through the universe, we simply turn to face each other because we are indeed the face of God. So take a moment, turn to someone and say, God looks good today. I'm especially thrilled this morning because I'm not speaking, so I got to sit down and relax today. Yeah, don't be that excited about it. Wait, what? Not the response I expected. But I'm okay with that. But I am thrilled because today's speaker is the author of our Fall Adventures in Faith book study, The Story of Our Time. Thrilled to have Dr. Robert Atkinson here as our guest speaker today. He said to call him Bob, so we'll call him Bob, and he will be signing some books after service today. And I'm also thrilled helping us out to facilitate today's service, probably one of the long-standing anchors of this spiritual community, Amy Jocelyn. Glad you're here, Amy.
Good morning, everyone. That was a little lame. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. All righty. It is my joy to be facilitating for Dr. Robert Atkinson today. If we could all just take a moment to welcome in our streamers. Good morning, streamers. It's so great to have you with us. Just to let you know, you can watch us live, or you can also watch us on YouTube, and you can also listen to the talks on your smartphone with the SoundCloud app. All righty. Yes. All righty. Well, now, I want some help with this also. Remembering what our core values are. Unity on the River is a center of inspiration, transformation, oneness, and joy. Okay, and now is the time that we recite our mission and vision statement. Our mission: we are a vibrant spiritual community that celebrates the presence in all and awakens humanity to its divinity. And our vision statement: centered in love, we joyously co-create a world of oneness, peace, and harmony. And I'm remembering that we want to also honor and welcome anyone who is celebrating service with us for the first time today. If you could raise your hand. Welcome. Please know that your presence here enriches our experience. We'll give you a welcome packet and a flower. If you could fill out the information on the welcome packet and bring it to our Spiritual Resource Center. Also, that flower entitles you to a 1%, one-time 10% discount in our bookstore. All righty. All right. And also, this is the time in our service that we like to acknowledge the divine in one another. So if you could just rise and greet the people and say namaste. And please ask if a handshake or
So we're very happy to have Laurie Diamond and Fred Abatelli. And this is their beautiful heart opener, True. You can find CDs of Laurie and Fred's in the bookstore. Definitely see them after. They'll sign and talk with you, get on their mailing list. And they wrote a brand new song that they're premiering again, so really excited to hear it. And thank you for your support of us. You guys are awesome.
Good morning. Good morning. Oh, I like that. I live with teenagers, so that's really special to get a response of any kind. like to have everybody meet my daughter Annalise, who's with us for the first time today. She does say good morning, so. The song is called True, and it's about living your most authentic life. She was saying yes when she really meant no, and going all the places she didn't want to go, and she put on her blinders and they thought they'd never find her again, and she almost lost herself trying to please somebody else. But she won't be a walking contradiction for you. She's gonna be true. Now as he went along with everything that they did, he always felt the pressure. It somehow trickled in, and he wanted to wake up, but he found he couldn't make up his mind. Where was his mind? And he almost lost himself trying to please somebody else. He won't be a walking contradiction for you. He's gonna be true. He'll be true. If you're lucky enough to wake, you'll have a lonely conversation with your heart. Then you can start believing in your inner truth and find your way back to you. That's Fred. He's my life partner, my musical partner. I'm very proud to be with him on every level. Now I might not agree with everything that you say. I know that I don't have to. I add value anyway, and I hope you'll remind me that you'll always want to find me here. And I'm here, but I almost lost myself trying to please somebody else. I won't be a walking contradiction for you. I'm gonna be true.
So Dr. Robert Atkinson is an internationally acknowledged authority on the life story interview and a pioneer in the deeper techniques of personal myth-making and soul-making. His books have been translated into 3 languages and widely used in personal growth and life review settings. His previous book, Mystic Journey, Get Into the Heart of Your Soul's Story, was called An Exquisite Exploration of the Spiritual Craft of Soul-Making by Jean Houston. He's professor emeritus at the University of Southern Maine and the director of what is currently in development, a web portal called Story Commons for connecting the human family one story at a time. When I read his book earlier this year, The Story of Our Time, it moved me in a way that a book on consciousness hasn't moved me in a while, because I too was struggling to put the happenings of our world and our country in the context of my spiritual growth and my expansion of consciousness. And I think his book did that for me. I'm thrilled and honored not just to be having his book as our Adventures in Faith book, but to have Bob here to share. Please welcome Bob Atkinson.
Good morning. Good morning. Namaste. Namaste. It's really such a pleasure to be here with you today. And I want to thank Reverend Ogun for inviting me and the whole staff for helping set this up. It's really also an honor to be here while you start the book read of The Story of Our Time. And to have the opportunity to spend a little time with you this afternoon in going into some of that book with you in the workshop. So Reverend Ogun and I were talking earlier this morning, and he asked me one of those big questions, one of those big life story questions, like something like, so how did you get here from wherever you started, you know? And I tried to take a couple of minutes to give him the short version. And in doing that, he really encouraged me to include a piece of my story as part of the story of our time. So I'll quickly do that, because actually I think the piece of my life story that I'm thinking about really kind of sets the context for not only for the story of our time, but also for the story, for the sacred story of all time. And so quickly, this is actually also part of my memoir, which is being republished next spring as a 50th anniversary edition called Year of Living Deeply, a Memoir of 1969. And so there were 2 key things that happened during that time for me in my life. The first was meeting Joseph Campbell. Wait a minute, that was the second. The first thing was meeting Pete Seeger. And I had met him the year before. He invited me to come sail on the Hudson River Sloop Clearwater maiden voyage with him. And that just started a whole process of awakening for me at that time. And so when I was there with him on South Street Seaport in New York City, at the beginning of the maiden voyage of the Clearwater, sailing up the Hudson, he stood there in front of the crowd and went on and gave the background about the creation of the Clearwater, the rebuilding a replica of the old sloops that used to sail. But it wasn't just for that. It was really for cleaning up a river. And so he stood there and he said, when you start to clean up a river, you have to clean up society too, because it's all connected. And that really began to sink in and expand and change the way I was seeing everything. And then a few months later, I met Joseph Campbell, at one of his Cooper Union talks in New York. And I sat there in the front row of the huge hall, listening to him talk about what I was experiencing at the time, and everything he was saying felt to me like I was the only one in the room that he was talking to. But of course, he was talking to everybody else too. And so I got to meet him after that talk, and he became my second mentor, key mentor of that period. And one of the things that Joseph Campbell said really stuck with me too. He wrote, as you may know, if you're familiar with his series with Bill Moyers, he wrote many things about not only about mythology but about the situation that we're in. And so one of the things he said that really stuck with me was the only myth worth thinking about is one about the planet and all people on it. So those two kind of key statements from Pete Seeger and Joseph Campbell really shaped the way that I continued to, the way my journey continued to unfold. And so many years later, now it's almost 50 years later, last year I came out with a book, Story of Our Time, and it really is about our time, but it's also about the much greater sacred story of creation. So I want to put both of those kind of in another context and kind of illustrate how the sacred story of creation leads into and how the story of our time is part of that much larger, ongoing, eternal story of the creation that we're part of. And I know we live in a world full of stories. We all have our own individual stories that are so important as life stories. One of the kinds of stories we don't spend as much time on typically is the greater story that we're all also part of. So that's what I want to bring us to start with, to create that big picture context. And so in this time frame, I will be kind of telling you a story, but it's very much abridged and a shortened version of this. I mean, even in one book, I couldn't tell the entire story of it all, just pieces of it. But anyway, the way they're connected, the way the sacred story of creation is connected to the story of our time, is that there has only been one sacred story unfolding, evolving, little by little, since the beginning of time. And that one story goes in cycles, just like the 4 seasons. So long before human beings arrived here on this planet, the sacred story of creation had already become defined by an underlying pattern of transformation that brought order and predictability to the evolutionary impulse and the way progress took place. In the natural world of 4 billion years ago, with all things governed by one universal law, cycles of maturation followed by decline and eventual renewal were the norm. All components of evolution on Earth have been fraught with a series of fits and starts, near endings, only to be followed by another beginning. This cycle of renewal was well established before humanity showed up. And the earliest indigenous peoples observed this pattern, incorporated it into all their rites of passage, and understood that all things are interconnected and interdependent. In the big picture of things, this began a series of spiritual epochs, each defined by this same cycle of renewal, each initiating a leap in consciousness. So it's difficult to deny that the world's major prophets, like Krishna, Abraham, Moses, Zoroaster, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, and Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith in the mid-19th century, it's hard to deny that each of them have changed the course of human life over the past 5 millennia. The last commonly known of these, the Islamic epoch, began some 14 centuries ago and inaugurated humanity's evolutionary stage of nation building. Now that this has been completed, we are looking for a story that will frame our next stage. Our long prevailing story seems to lack a resolution to the muddle we find ourselves in today. So what is the sacred story of our time? When you think about it, what most characterizes our time are the profound ups and downs of the 20th century. 2 world wars, the United Nations, civil rights and human rights movements, the Summer of Love, the first moonwalk, and its view of our planet with no boundaries, and we can't forget Woodstock, which is also part of my memoir. So far, in the 21st century, we are witnessing similar cycles, highlighting the opposing forces at work all around us. So what do we make of this? Well, one of the greatest psychologists of his time, Carl Jung, asked a question in his autobiography that he couldn't answer. He asked the question, in what myth or sacred story do we live today? And interestingly enough, Joseph Campbell offered the answer that I mentioned a few minutes ago when he said, the only myth worth thinking about is one that is about the planet and everybody on it. So, the new chapter of the sacred story of our time would be about the death of old systems that divide us and the birth of a global community that unites us. The leap of consciousness we've already seen in our time is from the illusion of separation to the reality that humanity is one family and all of creation is one living system. The one sacred story that has forever been unfolding may already have a new chapter for us to consider. In the 1840s, as divisiveness, strife, and intolerance reached a tipping point, and fervor for renewal swept the globe, religious scholars looked to the Holy Land and Persia as places where sacred scripture might be fulfilled. At this same time, the Baha'i faith, founded upon the core principle of the oneness of humanity, originated in Persia. My book, The Story of Our Time, explores this question. Could humanity's current transformation of consciousness be linked to Baha'u'llah's radical statement for the mid-1800s, the earth is but one country and mankind its citizens, which is at the heart of the Baha'i teachings. This question is important because it's about humanity's conscious evolution and the evolution of religion itself. Everything evolves: civilization, science, technology, the arts. Why not religion? We are coming to see that evolution in all realms is tied together, and that deep down, everything is interconnected. The Baha'i writings say, when the Son of Reality returns to quicken the world of mankind, a divine bounty descends from the heaven of generosity. The realm of thoughts and ideals is set in motion and blessed with new life. It is the springtime of the inner world. So Baha'u'llah released spiritual energies into the world meant to unify its divisions. His teachings focus on a set of spiritual principles, acknowledging the sacredness of every human being. Supporting the core spiritual principle of the oneness of humanity are these corollary social principles: the independent search for truth. Science and religion are complementary facets of one truth. Religious truth is continuously revealed from one source. The elimination of all forms of prejudice. The equality of women and men. Balancing the extremes of wealth and poverty. Universal education. A universal auxiliary language. A global justice system as the cornerstone for a world tribunal, and the environmental stewardship of the planet. These interdependent principles, proclaimed in the mid-1800s, now define the spirit of our age. They address and resolve the most challenging issues of our time while leading us toward world peace. They are today's equivalent of the Ten Commandments. The Baha'i community, living out these unifying principles in more than 100,000 localities in every country around the world, offers its experience as a model of an emerging culture of oneness. The Baha'i writings also go so far as to say, world peace is not only possible, but inevitable. That's not just because the evolutionary impulse has forever been leading us toward this supreme goal, but because now, for the first time, the tools needed for making world peace a reality are guiding our evolutionary leap forward toward this goal. But while the inevitability of world peace renews hope, affirms the eventual outcome, and acknowledges a purpose to these turbulent times, the realization of this promise depends totally upon the action we take now to carry out these principles. Our responsibility in this process is to become proactive midwives, ensuring that the rebirth of the planet happens as gently as possible. Love is the sacred activism of our time. It is the only force that can eliminate all forms of prejudice. It is the unifying force that binds together the universe. Love is what allows us to see all things with the eye of oneness. After many millennia of living in difficulty, dissension, discord, humanity is now rediscovering a deep-seated desire to live in this world as one, to move from a consciousness of duality where many cultures exist in conflict, to a consciousness of oneness, where many cultures learn to live in harmony, requires the realization that reality is one. Adopting a consciousness of oneness will lead to a culture of oneness. And a culture of oneness means living in unity within our multiplicity, honoring our diversity within our common heritage as human beings, and safeguarding our differences while recognizing we are more alike than unalike. Humanity is approaching its collective stage of maturity with sustained cooperation and wider loyalties as its hallmarks. Those signs of adolescent turmoil still persist. A divided humanity is no longer viable. This all really began with the globalizing forces of the mid to late 1800s. From the 1,000-fold increase in the speed of travel, to the million-fold increase in the speed of communication, to the exponential explosion of knowledge, including a 500-fold increase in the number of US patents since 1844, to the remarkable mushrooming of computers and information technology, all of which shrunk the world into a village. And during this same period of time, spiritual evolution has seemed more like a spiritual revolution, with the advance of a moral and ethical standards that made possible the liberation of women, slaves, and many other minority groups. While the rise of American transcendentalism created the first bridge between Christianity and Dharmic religions, it was soon after this, in 1893, that the first Parliament of the world's religions ushered in the interfaith age. Following this, the floodgates opened, allowing a steadily growing network of worldwide interfaith groups and social justice movements to put into action the universal principles of our time. And in 1999, Brother Wayne Teasdale announced in his book, The Mystic Heart, that we are at the dawn of the interspiritual age, as an understanding of a universal spirituality at the mystic heart of the world's religions had taken place. Yet we are still very much at a critical moment, a moment of choice, in which nothing less than the entire world community working together will ensure our collective survival. Building a culture of oneness is a movement that requires the participation of all elements of society, seriously seeking solutions to the crises and the challenges of the day. Each of us has a place in that process and a piece of the whole to contribute. When we all come together, we will have a better understanding of the whole. So a big part of the action needed now is creating meaningful conversations in as many settings throughout the community as possible. The core principle of our time can serve to frame the meaningful conversations we most need to have today. The urgency of the moment calls for heart-to-heart conversations that encourage a deeper exploration of humanity's common spiritual heritage, that consider religion as one evolutionary process, that seeks solutions to the divisions and injustices surrounding us, and that take bold action toward creating a shared future that is not only sustainable, but peaceful. These conversations are essential to our continued progress as we explore the implications of our oneness. In a spirit of learning, our conversations could abandon the language of divisiveness and instead adopt a language that unites us all on the basis of commonly held ideals and principles. Only in this way will we be able to work together for a social order free of prejudice and characterized by unity and diversity. In 1993, the Parliament of the World's Religions declared that a global ethic already exists within the religious teachings of the world, and that we are seeing a new consciousness of ethical responsibility evident in many areas of life. They noted that the special task of religions is to pass these timeless universal values on to future generations, but concluded, Earth cannot be changed for the better unless the consciousness of individuals is changed. To this end, we have to add that a global ethic can't be realized until we adopt a consciousness of oneness based on the truth that humanity is one. And all the human, social, and natural sciences confirm this, though we are infinitely diverse. So how can we assist this planetary rebirth? First, I think we need to understand the process that we're all part of in this moment. And going way back to the big picture perspective, faith communities and indigenous cultures worldwide all have core stories addressing a time in the future known as the Promised Day, when their teachings of universal harmony will be fulfilled. All seem to agree that central to the process is a much needed, thorough transformation on all levels, from the personal to the collective. The essence of all these traditions is that there is a built-in need for regular change, transformation, and renewal. The cycle of this latest spiritual epic has just begun its renewal process. We are only 1.75 centuries into what will take many more centuries to unfold, to reach the fullness of its summer maturation. And this is not a smooth, easy process. Renowned systems thinker Irvin Laszlo understands this natural evolutionary pattern of ups and downs, eventually leading to inevitable progress, and connected it to the Baha'i concept of historical progress when he explained, this is kind of a long quote from Irvin Laszlo, although the scientific concept has been discovered only recently, its main outlines have been anticipated in the 19th century by a Persian prophet whose influence is only now beginning to be felt in the modern world. Baha'u'llah proclaimed that the oneness of mankind will be achieved in evolutionary stages, replete with strife, chaos, and confusion. Historical development begins with the birth of the family, the advent of tribal society, and continues to the city-state, which expands into sovereign nations. The next stage in this social evolution, Baha'u'llah taught, is the organization of human society as a planetary civilization characterized by the emergence of a world community. the consciousness of world citizenship, and the founding of a world civilization and culture which would allow for an infinite diversity in the characteristics of its components. So, where we go from here? As winter loses its grip, a spiritual springtime is already beginning to remake the world. Unseen but ever-present creative and spiritual energies are guiding evolution toward its destiny. The next stage of humanity's evolution will lead us closer to the age-old promise of peace on earth. However, peace is not possible without oneness. Oneness is not possible without unity. Unity is not possible without justice. So, justice needs to be approached consistently and universally from a global level. Our immediate challenge, therefore, is to simultaneously build a global system of justice founded upon equity, honesty, truthfulness, reliability, which will help us overcome the world's oppressions. This will enable the emergence of a global culture of unity and diversity, honoring all the natural differences within the human family, enriching the beauty of the whole, with race unity leading to the unity of the entire human race. And this, in turn, will allow a global culture of oneness to come into being. This means putting into practice and living out the principle of the oneness of humanity in all our thoughts and actions. Together, these steps in our conscious evolution represent the foundation for and the assurance of the promised peace on earth. Any step taken in our regular, everyday interactions toward anyone different in any way than us is a step toward justice, toward unity, toward oneness, and ultimately toward peace. We'll have much more to say about how we can make this shift to a consciousness of oneness in the workshop this afternoon.
I don't know about you, but what you share, and not just your writing and up here as well, it kind of fills me with hope, in a sense. And it's so difficult to see the next evolution when we are so distracted by the current one in front of us. But I like what you say about, at the end there, about what is ours to do about this. And it's not big, it's not huge. It's simply recognize our oneness and live justice by simply being kind to each other. It's such a simple thing. A challenging but simple thing to do, to show that. So let's take a few moments and meditate on that. If you're comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, center into yourself. Reflect on the idea of world peace, global peace. That may seem as a massive, unattainable goal. But But as we heard today, it begins with each and every one of us. So as we center in some more, taking a few more deep breaths to center in this now moment. We acknowledge that peace does begin with us, each and every one of us. The peace we seek is the peace we live. The kindness, compassion, and generosity that we seek in the world is the kindness, compassion, and generosity that each of us live in every moment. Louise said it best, peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. So for a few moments in the silence, let's take that thought in, that truth in, that transformative impulse. Peace begins with me. Let's hold that, affirm that, believe that, live that for a few moments in the silence. Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. We not only affirm this for ourselves, we affirm this for all these prayer requests, these names, these situations here in our prayer box. And we hold that everyone here for whom a prayer has been requested remembers that the peace they seek, the abundance, the wholeness begins with them. Remembering the truth of who they are, divine beings, allowing all that is, allowing the oneness, allowing God to manifest as them. And should you hold that intention for any other person in your life, I invite you to say their names out loud now. In so doing, we, as a collective body of consciousness, affirm that realization of oneness for them, of peace for them, of abundance for them, of wholeness for them. realizing we are that presence in their life and theirs in ours. And for that, we are grateful, and so it is. Amen.
Please join us. Peace is in my heart. Peace is in my heart.
Thank you. That service was wonderful. That song was so in alignment with our talk today. Thank you. I'd like to honor the beautiful souls that serve as prayer chaplains in our community. If they could stand or raise their hand. These beautiful souls are available for prayer. They will hold your love and your intentions in the strict of confidence. We also have a home and hospital visit prayer team. If they could stand, or Nancy, I see you're here. Catherine, you're here. And you can also put in your prayer request to our prayer chest in the back of the sanctuary. We have a dedicated phone line. And you can also go online and submit your prayer request. Our wonderful prayer team will hold your prayers for 30 days, and then we send them off to Silent Unity. All right, and now is the time that we gather our tithes and offerings, and we say our affirmation. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
I think we're ready. Let's go ahead and bless the offering, maybe? Maybe not? Yes? Here we go. All right. So let's take a moment to find that place of gratitude in our hearts for these gifts, these reflections of the abundance of this community. So whether you gave here today, or you donated online, or you had your gift automatically sent, however you choose to share and invest in your spiritual community, we are grateful. It allows us to do what we do and be who we are, and in alignment with that spiritual principle of tithing, we give a portion back to the Amesbury community, to the wider unity movement, continuing that flow of abundance. And so it is, and we're grateful. Thank you. Couple of announcements I want to share with you before you go. Let's see. Bob's workshop will be today after the service. It'll be at noon, so you have time to grab a quick bite, connect in hospitality. Please, there's a sign-up sheet in the Spiritual Resource Center. If you are thinking and planning on hearing more and attending the workshop, please go sign up today so that we have a better sense of who is attending, so that we can be clear about what room to put the workshop in. So we need you to sign up so we can have a good head count for that. On October 14th will be our Sacred Service Fair. This is when all the sacred service groups and ministries here will be putting out some displays so you know what they do, and then we can heavily invite you into coming and serving and sharing and helping to grow this spiritual community. If you are ever wondering how it is that you can kind of expand your connectivity and feel that oneness, it's by serving. It is by serving. Every morning here at 9:30, we do a praying with the people who are here to serve, and it's a beautiful circle that stretches from the front to the back of the sanctuary. And we could always make that circle bigger. So please check out the Sacred Service Sphere. On October 14th at 12 p.m., Linda Dunoff. Linda, are you here? Where's Linda? Linda's here. She's going to be doing an astrology workshop called What Does Venus in Retrograde Mean to Me? So if astrology is your thing, or you are just not clear why you're feeling the way you're feeling, this might be why. So check that out. And October 12th and 14th, the men's retreat. Who's here? Is Mark here? Anyone here from the men's retreat that knows about the men's retreat? October 12th, 14th. No one here with all the details. There you go. So you can see him. The details are also online. So men, take this as an opportunity to come together and get some good bonding going on. Mark your calendars. October 28th is our next community meeting. We do quarterly community meetings where we come together, myself and the board, share where we are as a church as the year is going on. And you guys can ask us questions, dialogue with us. We have these quarterly. October 20th is the next one. You can still sign up for Adventures in Faith. Find a small group near you. We've got about 11 groups that you can join, including some daytime groups. So they'll be there in the hospitality area. Bob will also be in the bookstore to sign some books. And this coming Saturday at 9 a.m., since all of you are free at that time because it's Saturday at 9 a.m., right? You can come help us finish painting the front of our building. I hope to see you all there. Last but not least, I gotta take a moment to shout out probably the newest married member of our community, Jay Bancroft. Congratulations. Jay got married this past Tuesday. Stand, Jay. There you go. Is your bride with us? Oh yeah, there she is. Stand up. Come on, stand up. There we go. I don't know if you guys know, but Jay does a lot of stuff behind the scenes here, especially with our video and our live streaming and other things. And I just wanted to give a shout out of acknowledgement for not only all you do, but this new happy beginning in your life. Respect you a lot, man. Thank you for that. And I know Amy's got some more thank yous to give, so come on up and give those.
Wow, you know, it really does take a village to co-create the services that we have here and to create a welcoming and loving community that we have. So thank you for all of those who participate in service. We do have a few special angels that we want to recognize: Eve, Ginny, Frank, Marie, Robert, Carol, Joanne, and all of the hosts and facilitators for the AIF groups. And the teams that we'd like to recognize are our live stream team, yay, live stream, the gala team, hospitality team, and the youth and family ministries team. And if our board members could please stand so we can thank and acknowledge them as well. And now it's time for our big song, The Good in You. Yay.
Song is about believing that people are all inherently good, even if they consistently try to prove you otherwise. Well, I've been told I have been naive about letting others in. Well, I guess I can't sense when there's a motive, 'cause I always see a friend. Well, they'll say, don't assume that everything's peachy. Don't you ever show your hand. Just hold your cards close. The game is never over, and you need to have a plan. Well, I don't buy the evil eye. I'd rather watch you shine your light. Can't you see that I'm falling, yeah, for the idea of your good intentions? intentions, and I'm hoping my vision is clear. I only see the good in you, the good in you. I'll never say, oh, here comes another one, somebody I can't trust. Well, there's no way to live. Why should I be jaded? That will never fill my cup. But if I assume that everything's peachy and I offer up my hand, well, I may get burned. I know it's more likely my circle will expand. I may not know if you're my foe. I'll always try to find your light. Can't you see that I'm falling, yeah, for the idea of your good intentions, and I'm hoping my vision is clear. I only see the good in you. My reflections in your eyes, and I hope that this connection's meant to be. Can't you see that I'm falling, yeah, for the idea of your good intentions, and I'm hoping my vision is clear. I only see the good in you. I'm falling, yeah, for the idea of your good intentions, and I'm hoping my vision is clear. I only see the good in you. I only see the good in you. I only see the good in you.
Laurie Diamond, Bella Kelly. I just love these guys. Super good.
Before we welcome the kids in, one last reminder, our gala, November 10th, our annual gratitude gala. Tickets are on sale currently. And if you have questions about the gala, Gina, our gala coordinator, gala team coordinator, is in hospitality. We are now open and inviting you to donate items for the auctions, events, experiences. I mean, we for example, there are sometimes people who have like a cottage out in the mountains or woods somewhere. You can donate a week that we can auction that off. You got some airline miles you're not using? Donate those to be auctioned off. You know, yeah. So please think about what is it that you have that you can share. Because again, this is about not just coming together and connecting and celebrating and being gratitude for this community, but it's also about raising funds for this community as well. So if you have any more questions, see Gina out there. And also there are people, if you run a business, own a business, know somebody who has a business, we're also looking for sponsors. Oh, look, Gina's right there. Hey, Gina, wave your hand so people know who you are. I'm sorry. Thought you were there already. All right, so with that being said, let's stand and welcome in our children walking as the light.
We are walking.
amazing beings that I get to spend my time with. I don't know, we always generate such an awesome conversation. This week, I'm just going to jump to, I went to a conference this week as the teen consultant in the Eastern region, and so it gives me the chance to stand on the stage in front of ministers and remind them, I don't have to remind this minister, but remind them about how powerful these kids are and how important it is that we contribute to the kids to do things within our church, and opportunity to go out into the community with all of our support and do things collaboratively, and then go to these retreats, because just like we create here this awesome community of adults and we have conversation and then we take it out into the world, they do that at these retreats. They like get their tools and then they go back to their schools and their communities and they bring unity principles there, and it's really awesome. So I feel really blessed to be able to do it here and there. And oh yeah, this is really exciting because I'm the teen consultant. We're bringing one of our retreats up north. They're usually held like down in Maryland and Virginia and Pennsylvania. And so we're going to be having a Uniteen event, which is middle schoolers. And it's an overnight here at the church, and we have curriculum, and they do family groups where they get into groups and they really bring their stuff to the table. And it's a pretty exciting thing. So there's our community's supporting it, our church is supporting it, and allowing the kids to use this space. And hopefully we'll get some people from south and the northern part of our region. And we have an awesome group of Uniteens happening here that are very, that are coming often. So it's going to be an overnight. So those of you...
Which overnight?
November 3rd to the 4th. And so if you, start bringing your Uniteens here and come here, and then they can be part of developing this weekend that we're having. Excellent. Okay. I'll share more next week.
Cool. So, yeah, if you know any middle schoolers in your family or have family with middle schoolers, invite them to this weekend. Let's stand, hold hands with our neighbor, and affirm the truth that we heard about today. There is peace on earth, and it begins with us.
The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well, and we are richly blessed.
Go be the peace.